So to present the first award tonight to Tony, I'd like to welcome Karen Lash to the stage. Karen has worked with Tony for a number of years in various different roles, including when they worked together at the U.S. Department of Justice. Karen's going to share more about Tony and his leadership on equal justice. So Karen.
Thank you, Jim. What an honor it is to help NLADA honor Tony with this award. It's hard to keep this short, since Tony and I go back all the way to 1990, when the LA law firm I worked at recruited him as a summer associate. I was in that interview when he told us private firm lawyers that he aimed for a job to advance the public interest. True to that declaration, he has indeed done so at every public and private sector job since. I saw it up close decades later working with Tony at the Justice Department when he was appointed as President Obama's Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Division and then Associate Attorney General. In those roles, Tony found truly novel ways to protect and prioritize consumers, voting rights, immigrants, and Native American communities. And my wife and I toast him on each wedding anniversary for his role and strategic genius in making marriage equality a reality. And as associate, he oversaw DOJ's Office for Access to Justice, where I worked, and he led us to most of our most impactful successes, like the department's historic first ever statement of interest on ineffective assistance of counsel, co-chairing the Legal Aid Interagency Roundtable, ushering a new era in federal support for legal aid, and securing nearly $500 million for legal aid to help people who lost their homes in the 2008 financial crisis. So no one should be surprised that Tony's habit of innovating for public good likewise shaped his contributions as general counsel at 2 Fortune 500 corporations. Under his watch at Uber, for example, Uber ended mandatory arbitration for individual claims of sexual assault or sexual harassment, joined the Free to Drive campaign to reverse fines and fees impacts on driver's license suspensions, and he coordinated with other GCs to urge Congress to preserve and expand funding for legal aid and public defense. Perhaps most notable in the spirit of tonight's gala theme is his leadership on racial equity in the corporate community. I don't think there's anyone more capable of leading that charge in bold and novel ways than Tony. And I can't help but add, he's also like the nicest guy in the world. So on behalf of NLADA and the countless people who have benefited from his 1990 pledge to advance the public interest, including my family, I invite Tony to the stage to accept the Exemplar Award. So I think I'm going to put it
Thank you. Wow. Well, it is very humbling. I told someone long ago that you should always take your name tag off before you speak. I didn't follow that tonight. First, let me thank April, Stan, and Rodia, and everyone at NLADA for this meaningful award. Jim, thank you for introducing the award, and thank you for your commitment to access to justice in the private sector. A special, heartfelt thank you to Joanne Wallace, who led this organization for so many years. You know, Joanne Joanne and I were sort of partners in justice together. I was in the government. She was out pushing us and pressing us. Now, of course, she serves as president of the NLADA insurance program. Let me also congratulate the other honorees tonight by your example. You remind us that closing the justice gap doesn't always come with grand historic gestures, but rather often in the persistence, sometimes quiet work that we choose to do every day in our lives and in our work. So congratulations. I also want to give a shout out to my many Uber colleagues who are here tonight. Thank you for sharing this evening with me, and thank you for being such an important reason why I love my job. And thank you, too, to so many. I know we have so many of Uber's outside counsel partners who have supported this work, have supported NLADA, and support tonight's event. So thank you for that. Look, I can't say enough good things about Karen Lash. Karen has really dedicated her life to breaking down barriers for others, whether it's been her work as director of the Justice and Government Project at American University, or leading the U.S. Department of Justice's Access to Justice Office over a decade ago, or even when she is at home creating these colorful murals out of plastic bottle caps, using it as a teaching moment to local neighborhood kids and her neighbors on the environmental harms of single-use plastic. Karen has always moved through this world in a way that leaves the space she occupies better because she's been there. And that's why I was so fortunate to have her as a colleague in the Obama administration. That's why I'm so fortunate to have you present this award tonight. And it's also why I'm so honored to have been your friend for 30 years. Thank you. So I'm going to make this quick because I know we have halftime coming up and the bar is still open. Look, back when I was serving in the Obama administration, I worked in a building that folks called Main Justice. It's the Justice Department's main headquarters on Pennsylvania Avenue. And it was in a building that was built in the early 1930s. And so the interior is full of this Depression-era artwork. It's absolutely beautiful, including one of my favorites, a mural depicting black and white school children working together in a science classroom. You probably remember this one, Karen. And, I tried to walk past that mural every single time I went into my office because I loved it so much. I loved it because of its aspiration. You see, it was painted at a time when this city, Washington, D.C., was still a Jim Crow segregated city. And yet, 20 years before the legal integration of elementary schools in our country, this artist dared to imagine what justice could be. The reason this award is so meaningful to me, it's so special, is because it comes from an organization that for over 100 years has dared to imagine what justice should and can be. NLADA has, for more than a century, it's been you who stood up for those who often work the hardest but have the least. It's been you who have stood up for those who know not life's mainstream but its margins. Indeed, NLADA, as well as so many of you in this room, public defenders, private attorneys, activists, advocates, private sector professionals working pro bono, including some of my own Uber colleagues, all of you have been working so hard to keep that promise that we made to ourselves so long ago. Equal access to equal justice. under the law. And in a country where 4 out of 5 criminal defendants can't afford counsel, where public defender caseloads are increasingly bigger and bigger, and yet they don't have the resources necessary to keep pace, where real wages are down, purchasing power is compressed, and low-income families last year did not get the help they needed for 92% of the legal problems they faced. Issues like eviction, domestic violence, access to health care, and increasingly I think we will see increased access to women's health care, where increasingly too many Americans feel that the justice system does not treat them fairly, especially if you're poor or if you're of color. In a country where this is the daily reality for so many individuals, access to justice, access to equal justice under the law, that's a pretty hard promise to keep. And yet we strive to keep it. You know, we strive to keep it because we believe the Bill of Rights is more than faded ink on aging parchment paper. We strive to keep it because access to justice doesn't belong to the Democratic Party or to the Republican Party. It belongs to us, each of us, you and me. It's an American value, a value as old as our republic. We strive to keep it because we know that as divisive and contentious as our national dialogue can be sometimes, we truly are what Bobby Kennedy told us we were 54 years ago this week on the night that he was killed. We are a great country. We are a selfless country. We are a compassionate country. You know, keeping the promise is not easy. And the need always seems to be greater than our ability to meet it fully. But the work you do, the work we do together, that matters. That makes a difference. And it speaks to the essence of who we are. One nation, indivisible. So thank you for this award, but more importantly, thank you for your continued commitment to this work. And please know, whether I'm in government or out, the public sector or the private sector, I will always, always be incredibly proud to stand with you in this cause.